and this world will be saved by a savior. I guess that's what people want to believe. Hopefully gas prices go down. The title of this video is "The Heavens Teaching the Image is a Deception, Something Not Right with the Moon." And some thoughts that came to me about looking up at the sky. And I know the world won't agree with any of it. Not likely that that's ever going to happen. It's a lot bigger of a problem than, what the earth is, the shape of the earth, what it's doing. And that is important too. It's a pretty big lie to tell the whole world that it's something that it's not. But do the heavens teach that the image is a deception? When we look at it, then there's at least a couple examples of this, what I believe that it's teaching. And this is my first time using this besides that test OBS thing, so hopefully this is working okay with the video. This is just a random thing I pulled up, not anything I had specific in mind. But yes, the Messiah is the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. Can do nothing. And I found that to be utterly true. And Messiah didn't produce any fruit of himself either. He abides in the Father, as he said. We just read it. Of himself, he can do nothing. We read that elsewhere. And the same for us. Without him, we can do nothing. But back to the heavens, when we look up at the sky, one thought that came to me is like, even the world looks up at a night, and on a clear day, clear night, no clouds, clear, not foggy. And if there's somewhere where there's not much light, you could see the stars better. And the world would say like, wow, look at that. Gazing, stargazing, mystified, mortified, whatever-fied. Saying it's beautiful, it's this, it's that. Even the world saying that. What is it calling beautiful? It contradicts itself in reality, within, in the heart, because it's hypocrisy. It doesn't actually believe that. Is it the darkness that it's calling beautiful? Because if it was pitch dark right now, like this, it should be working, then beautiful. So what is beautiful? It's not the darkness itself. It's the stars that contrast themselves against the darkness. It's seeing light in the darkness, in the sky, in the heavens. That's what it is. It's not the darkness by itself that's beautiful, because there's no sight in actual darkness. If it was, we have some light around us on the earth, if we can see something, but actual pure darkness, there is nothing to see. How can it be beautiful or not beautiful? So it's seeing the light in the sky contrast. These are the people from above. These are those that dwell in heaven, the stars, the believers of the Father. And the Father is the sun, and Messiah is the moon, the lesser light, and the greater light is the Father, and the stars are his people. So a light in the world, like Messiah was that light in the world, the first light in the world. There was no light before him in the world. This light existed, but not in the world for man, within this world. Father has always been that light, but there was no light in the world. And the world can't actually believe what this means. That means there was no actual true believer before Messiah. No actual true believer before Messiah. Then when they hear the words of the church world, what are they going to say to the words? That he's the only begotten Son, that he's the firstborn of the dead first. Something like Adam, the type. Adam was firstborn, literally created by the Father first. Something first about Adam, naturally. But he wasn't Messiah. He wasn't what he needed to be. The second Adam, like we read, the second Adam being Messiah, is first in something like Adam, except he's first in the actual reality, which is the spiritual things of the type, which is an image. The first thing is an image of the true, pointing to the true. That's how all of his word works. All of the scriptures work. The image, what you see with the letter and the image that creates in someone's mind isn't the truth itself. It's what it means. And that what it means comes from above. Someone needs to receive that. They can't just think it up. They could say the very words and still not see anything at all. That's the crazy thing with it. They could say the very right words and have no truth in them. How's that possible? It is possible. It's happening all the time. Because that understanding needs to come from him. A spiritual understanding. Comparing spiritual with spiritual. Not carnal with spiritual, not carnal with carnal. All these hints, all these clues within his word that something's wrong with the carnality, something's wrong with man's understanding of the Bible. The Bible is the problem also because of what man does with it. What he thinks it means is the problem. He doesn't seek understanding from the Father. He says, the Bible tells me so. The Bible tells me to do this. It justifies whatever it's doing out there because it finds a few verses or a verse or two and says, the Bible tells me. Well, the Bible tells you hundreds of different things. Do you keep them all? Hypocrite. Do you believe the Bible for real, or do you just pick a couple things out of 100? Or hundreds, however many little details and laws there are, many. And these are all one in truth, one in spirit. But when you try to make sense of it carnally, it's a mess. It's a contradicting mess. Another thought that came to me is that if you pretend that the Bible is perfect, then it's not flawed, it's not corrupt. Let's say it's that. By what definition and standard? Someone else's definition of perfect is going to be in a disagreement and division against someone else's definition of perfect. So based on what definition, first of all, but let's say everyone agrees on the same thing. It's not reality, but let's say it's perfect. It's not corrupt. His word is not corrupt. And we take that as truth. It's still corrupt because there's contradictions left and right, because the letter contradicts somewhere with another letter when comparing carnal with carnal. You read the letter, you think of the understanding real quick and compare it to, you'll find a contradiction. If you look for it, you can find it. The image appears to be a contradiction. It appears to be that way. And there's many of them, and that's true. So then the Bible contradicts. That's true. They say it doesn't, so they're liars. Yes, it does. Their definition of contradiction is an image, is an outward appearance. It's not speaking of spirit. So they lie when they say, the church world says, that it doesn't contradict. Yes, it does. Could find a bunch of contradictions. Anybody could find them if they wanted to. And, some will be wrong. The point is that there's many. It's a big book. We start contradicting with just the definition of light, different meanings of light. How can one word have different meanings, different angles, different truths within that same word? And darkness has its own meanings. And these start contradicting when you compare them with the letter, with one understanding here, it's going to contradict. It's going to appear to. And I'm not saying there's actual contradictions. There's not. Not the spiritual understanding, not in spirit. His word is spirit. There's no contradictions in reality, but there is on earth. There is in the letter. There does appear to be. They say there's not. That's a lie. That's lying to people. Every liar will have their part in the lake of fire. Do they care about lying? Start caring about lying, every little detail. How many times has a man lied about anything and everything? Many times, including self, without a doubt, many times, too many times. But the want, the goal, the will is to want to overcome this lying. That's for a believer to overcome, to get better in, to stop lying. And increase in stopping lying, and increase in stopping in it. It won't happen overnight. That's also without a doubt. It's too easy to lie about anything and everything. Now, so if the Bible's perfect and there's no corruption, it's still corrupt because there will be contradictions within the perfect word. Whether someone says it's corrupt or not, if it's perfect, there's the word perfect, at least a title they put in here, love and joy perfected. See? If the word is perfect, if someone says it's perfect and not corrupt, at best, it being perfect is corrupt because contradictions are corrupt, aren't they? A contradiction can't be true, therefore it's a lie. Therefore, a lie is corrupt. Contradiction is corrupt. So the letter is corrupt. It's broken. It contradicts all the time, everywhere, every book, within the book. And that doesn't sound too good, does it? You wouldn't want to sell that. So they sell that. They sell things that people want to hear. They tell you what you would want to hear. And someone will disagree and cause division with what they want to hear, and church hop and all that. The devil is against its own self, his own self. It's divided. That's just a hard reality. It's a confusion. It's a mess. It's divided. Nevertheless, at best, it's corrupt. So what does this say? What are people doing? What are they saying? What are they teaching? What's their point? Are they not lying? And they're not telling the truth when they say these things. On a good day, at best, his word is corrupt. So how do we know anything? How do we know truth if his very word is corrupt? And yet it's not corrupt. It can't be the Bible telling someone what to do. That's the problem. That's the corruption. His word is good. His law is good. That's why Paul says he makes it sound bad. He's not trying to. It just does sound that way when he's speaking truth about the law. It increases sin. You tell a man, these are the things you can't do. This is illegal. This is breaking the law. It's going to make him sin more because he becomes aware of the detail of the law and breaks it, tries to even keep it at times and breaks it. It just increases sin. It doesn't do anything for good. Man trying to keep the law carnally and understands of self increases sin, like we read, like Paul speaks of. The law came and it increases the sin of man. So what's going on? Is the law evil? Is it bad because it does this? By no means, he says. By no means is it evil or bad. He says it's good. I agree with the law. It's good. The law is good. I'm carnal. I'm the man of sin, the son of perdition. I don't know what I do. What I will to do, I don't do. What I don't will to do, I do. I'm a carnal slave sold under sin. He says all these things about himself. That doesn't sound good, does it? Can't sell that. Those words are true for me too. Wouldn't want to sell that. Wouldn't want to tell the truth. A carnal man sold under sin, but there's a way, a narrow way nevertheless, but that will be true for every believer. No one escapes that they're a sinner. The only way is to receive a word from him, and then we see something in his word, and a connection is made. And you say, wow, that's what it means. I see something about this. Because he teaches you in spirit, and then you run into it somewhere in his word or reminded about it. And then you see that word, it pops out, it becomes alive. It has some kind of meaning now. It didn't mean what you thought it meant. And that's how it works when receiving from him. It's always going to work like it didn't mean what you thought it meant. It was wrong. Whatever we were thinking, our own understanding was wrong. It's always wrong. A man can't understand his word. Even though the truth is simple, he cannot understand it because the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. He doesn't receive it. He can't receive it. He can't even receive it. You could try to give it right to him, put it in his face, and it won't, you put the coin in the machine and it rejects it. It won't receive it. It just spits it back out. That's what it's like. The way is impossible. That's the point. Someone needing to be broken down. Stop believing in self. Stop trusting self. Stop believing self is good, a good person that does some bad things. The saying, well, he's a good man. He's a good woman. She's a good woman. She's a good person. He's a good person. But, good people do bad things. That's what this world teaches. What is that? That's not love and joy perfected. That's nonsense. That's hypocritical, evil nonsense. A good person does bad things. Really? I thought a good tree cannot do bad works. A good tree does not produce bad fruit, and a bad tree does not produce good fruit. Hello? Nobody home. Do people believe what Messiah teaches? No, obviously not. When someone says a good person does bad things and bad person does good things, they speak the devil's truth, which is the lie. They contradict and don't believe what Messiah says and what it means in the heart. They do not believe when they believe this lying doctrine, foolish doctrine, that a good person does bad things. It mixed good and evil together, and now there is no good or evil. Now there is nothing. This is what sin is. Sin is mixing and not rightly dividing good from evil, ever. Adam and Eve look at the tree and they don't rightly divide two separate things, good and evil. There's good and evil on this tree, and they can't separate it. They don't see two things. They don't see two of this, two of that, two of this, and separate it in their heart. They don't see it. They only see one thing, which is the mixed thing, which is one thing, two things mixed, which is sin, which is evil. So therefore they see evil. They're looking at evil, but they don't understand what evil actually is. These are separate things now. This has to be rightly divided, or else we have a contradiction. They don't understand what evil is, but they only see evil. They're only looking at evil. They only perceive it to be the evil thing that their heart understands, which is not understanding. That is the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. It's good and evil. This is what sin is. All the other trees in the garden are good, and you can eat as much as you want from them, he says to them. Who says? The Father says. And yet it's got its eyes fixed on that one tree in the midst of the garden. It's a magnet, a powerful magnet. What do they got now? N52 whatever magnet. 50 magnets. Your phone will never fall off your mount. It's going to suck it to the magnet and it won't let go. It's attached. It's attracting to the tree, to sin. All the sins are on that tree, every detail, every sin, every branch representing one sin, another this, another that, and all the evil connected to the stump, to the roots, one tree. All of the sin is on that tree. The Father didn't command Eve not to eat a fruit. He commanded Eve not to sin at all. Obey my voice. Listen to me. This is the truth. This is life. Don't sin. Don't eat sin. Did they understand that? Of course not. They thought it was about fruit. The carnal mind does not understand. The Father's always speaking spirit. He's not speaking carnal commands. He's not commanding people to murder people. Samson doesn't understand. When he prays amiss, praying for selfish things and selfish gain, including lust for murder. He breaks down the pillars so that he can destroy everyone else and including himself. That sounds like a serial killer murderer that self-suicides and destructs. It is. It's just without a gun. It's just ancient instead of a modern way of doing it. It's the same heart. It's the same work. And I know that doesn't sound good, because isn't he a true man of God? Weren't they all true men of God? Well, no. Yes, in that what it teaches. Yes, in that way, if you see the meaning for what we're supposed to be, for the spiritual understanding. But no, in reality, no, they weren't. They didn't have that spirit. That wasn't given until Messiah's resurrection. It would be foolish nonsense to read about this spirit being given. What's so special about this? Because it was never given like this before. That's why we read about it being given. Messiah had to die and be resurrected, and then the spirit would be given. And the disciples were being led up to believe, but they didn't have the true belief yet. Can't go by the image. It looked like it. It looked like they, were followers and believed, but they didn't have the true belief yet. They didn't have the spirit yet, but they were being led up to it. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's just true that they didn't have the spirit yet. So they didn't see. They lied a lot. They lied when Messiah asked them questions. We could find it, prove it, test it. Every truth can be proven and tested. If something can't be proven and tested, it must not be the truth. It can't be the truth. Test and prove all things, including the nonsensical, evil, lying, globe-spinning earth. It can't be proven. It can't be tested by anyone. How convenient for the devil that you can never test these things. Nobody's ever made a small model of this evil lie, breaking the entire world, the entire foundation, the entire earth that the Creator created, and lying about it. It takes glee in its lies. What do they call it? Duping delight, like I've heard people say. It can't help but smirk when it's lying. There is a truth to that, duping delight. I think that's what it's called. They do this. Catch people doing this all the time, if you're paying attention. They know they're lying. That's what causes someone to smirk. They give themselves away. Lies always have holes in there somewhere. There's holes and there's contradictions that they just need to be found. If there's a lie, there's a hole. There's holes, meaning it's broken somewhere. You can prove it. There's something wrong. There's something. Contradiction can't be a contradiction. A contradiction can't be taken as some light thing. Oh, it's just contradiction. No, contradiction is the definition of all evil. If it contradicts, it's a lie and the person's lying about something. It means a lot, contradiction. It will contradict somewhere if someone's lying. They will contradict themselves. You can find what someone says and then find somewhere else the contradiction. You'll find it if they're lying. It exists. Now, if someone doesn't find it, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It needs to be seen, but it exists, whether someone in the world finding it or not. It's there already, sitting there, waiting to be found. The contradiction, the holes are waiting to be found. When looking up at the sky at night, it's the light. That's what looks nice. The light in the darkness. That's what his people are supposed to be. So the world looks at the image and it looks like it praises that good thing, that image, but it doesn't in its heart. It only does it by mouth. It only does it by its mouth, not with its heart. Adam and Eve, they honor him with their lips, but their heart is far from him. They don't acknowledge what they did in their heart. They acknowledge it with their mouth. It's always going to be a problem with an image. They create the image of repentance. They didn't repent. No, they did not. A person that says sorry in this world that has nothing to do with truth, they didn't repent. It's like a kid that says sorry. Are you kidding me? They didn't repent. They just said what they felt like they needed to say under pressure in order to get along with something or to maintain a good image. When it does it for these corrupt reasons, that's not repentance. That's not being sorry in the heart. When it does it for corrupt, bribing reasons, when it does it for self-gain and for other alternative, ulterior, whatever motives, for other motives, reasons, it's doing a corruption in its heart. It's not doing good. It's not actually doing what it's making itself look like it's doing. That can be tested if someone's honest with themselves. Catch yourself lying, catch yourself faking it and lying and pretending and acting. A hypocrite is a stage actor. Well, I might as well find that word here. Hypocrite. We'll go to the New Testament. Okay. Here's an example of hypocrisy. The master then answered him and said, "Hypocrite, does not each one of you on the Sabbath loose his ox, working, or donkey from the stall and lead it away to water? So ought not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, whom Satan has bound, think of it, for 18 years be loosed from this bond on the Sabbath?" When he said these things, all his adversaries were put to shame because he spoke the truth. He didn't try to put them to shame in an evil way like man does. Two separate things. But he'll be accused for doing that because truth is like murder to the devil. It's an attack. It sees it as an attack, as evil. It sees it as the same evil it does to others in reality. And Messiah is not doing what others are doing. When he speaks the truth, it will attack the lie and threaten to kill and destroy the lie and the evil. This will be seen as wicked, as murder, because man is the lie and it's attached to these lies. It doesn't want to die. It doesn't want the old man to die. The truth is threatening to do a good thing, which is kill the old man, self, for who and what someone is. And all the multitude rejoiced for all the glorious things that were done by him. So, hypocrite now.
Strong's G 5273. Hypocrites. Hypocrites.
Might have been a bit loud. Well, hold up. Okay. Hypocrite, one who answers, an interpreter, an actor, stage player, stage actor, a dissembler, pretender, hypocrite. And then we have down here Strong's definition: an actor under assumed character, stage player, figuratively a dissembler, a hypocrite. See, this is what a hypocrite is: an actor, a stage actor, a stage player. This is what hypocrite is. Acting is hypocrisy. Why is it hypocrisy? It creates a false image of everything that it's not. It's constantly lying to people when it's acting. It's constantly being something that it's not in reality. Imagine actually being a literal stage actor in this world, how strong the hypocrisy must be in their life. When they tell people good things and command them to do good and love your neighbor and your parents and have love, dog, have love, everyone, love, y'all. Imagine the hypocrisy for that stage actor, that millionaire, that corruption that it really is, that greed, that love of this world and love of money that it has, love of lust and sin and adultery and murder. And then it tells people to do some kind of good, or some creator, as they call it, YouTubers, creators. Each one, many of them having their own little thing they say and tell you to do and be good. And, oh, I hope you have such a good, magnificent, wonderful day. And you say the same thing over and over again. Hypocrisy. Is any of it real? It's just like a robot. It just says the same thing with no meaning, with no heart. It somehow loves millions of subscribers that it's never met or spoken to, doesn't answer most of the questions and comments because it literally can't. It needs AI to do that or something, have some kind of algorithm to just put in fake automatic answers to all these hundreds of questions per video that nobody gets to and that nobody reads. It's just there for the money. You can count on it. It's there for self-gain. This is sin. This is what it does. It's things for, someone says over and over again, as I've heard it many times, I don't do this for the money. I don't do this for every video. I don't do this for the money. Your channel's monetized. You take donations for PayPal, Patreon, probably whatever, Bitcoin, all these electronic payments. You're making money from ads, worthless ads. You need more views to make a living from those ads, because once you get enough views, you can make some serious money on YouTube. It's a very strong temptation. But tell the truth at least. Tell everyone you do it for the money. Stop lying. You're making money. It doesn't matter how much. 1,000 a month, 5,000 a month, 20,000 a month. It doesn't matter how much. Do you make money for what you do? Stop telling people, I don't do it for the money. I don't do it for the money. Maybe that's guilt talking, isn't it? It's just reversing the judgment in its heart. It's guilty of doing it for corrupt reasons, for money, for lying, not doing it for what it's selling. It's really doing it for. So then it says the opposite, in spite, in rebellion to the creator and truth. It says the opposite of what it's really doing. It says, I'm not doing it for the money. But it makes money in every way. It's got super thanks, super chats. It's got paid comments that it reads some of them, because once it becomes even bigger, it can't even read all the paid comments. Well, let's read some of the super comments today. Super chat, super thanks. $20 from such and such to write this little comment, and reads the comment. And then it gets even bigger and it can't even read all of those. Then it tries to maybe post some of them on the video, but not read them or talk about them, but they just pop up, It's a lot of work, man. Yeah, it's a lot of work to pretend you care. It's the job of an actor, is to make you believe whatever the act is. They put in a lot of work to act, to make a movie. But is any of it real? Of course not. Can we talk about some of the things that it portrays and say this image is real? You see truth in it. You see some kind of judgment within it. Yes, but the actor themselves, it's an act. It's not real. That's the point. The better the actor, the better the pay, the bigger the image. That's the goal. You make more money, the more you deceive. But at least someone isn't messing with, the Bible and claiming that they're of this truth and a believer, because at least it's just some worldly thing. So let it be. The real corrupt thing is making money for his word and claiming to be of truth and making a bunch of money for it. For what? Selling the truth? Making money for the truth? A hireling, a paid actor that makes money off the word and off of pretending to be a believer. These things are the real corrupt things. This is the corruption. It's far worse. Why do we read about hireling? What is Messiah speaking of when he says hireling? They're hired. They're hired servants to do a job. Like an assassin. I just got to do the job, and I do my job well. I can't care about anybody. Please have mercy. This is my job. On to the next job. It gets paid to kill, steal, and destroy. It makes a living off of the dying that it causes. What great evil is that? But what's going on spiritually? When someone's lying to people and deceiving them, they're destroyers. They're destroying people's soul. They're killers. A liar is a killer, and it doesn't care at all. And the more it kills, the more money it can make, the more potential someone has to grow in the business, because everything in this world is a business. Church is a business. The church that Messiah built is on a believer, his people. We don't have to read it for each and single name through every generation. We don't have to read about the light and darkness in Egypt. The darkness is on Egypt, but the light was on the Israelites right there. The light was on the people. We don't have to read that for each and every generation, every single generation. This is what must happen now, because it's not about the literal light and darkness. It's a teaching, the parable. Using the people, yes, as a teaching, a parable, teaching something spiritual far greater than what it appears to be. The image is not the understanding. The literal light and darkness is not the actual understanding. This truth still goes on today. We don't have to read it ever again, that specific same thing. We don't have to. Messiah doesn't have to say, I build my church on John and Peter and this and that and all the names. We don't have to do that. The Catholic Church does some weird corrupt thing with this, building the church on this. They worship the saints. They put them on the altar and make images out of stone and create, what do they call it? Well, it's an idol. It's like a literal idol. It's an idol in the heart, but they create it even literally. They idolize these saints. This is not what someone is supposed to do. They do evil to these believers of old by idolizing them and sinning and getting other people to sin. Statues, making statues of people. Messiah speaks of that too. You make these statues, you adorn the dead and all of this. This is something man's always done. This is nothing new under the sun. Idolizing mankind, people. But Peter, as an example, Messiah building his church on this rock, and I believe the definition of his actual names has something to do with like stone, rock. Those are the same things, stone. So once again, the foundation now needs to mean something firm that does not move. As soon as that definition's broken, it's no longer a foundation. That's the heart of what a foundation means, is it doesn't move. It's a rock. Building this house on a rock instead of sand so that it doesn't move and collapse the house. The storms come, it beats it, it tests it. The sun comes out, it tests the plant. The wind comes out. All these things come out to test that little plant. It's got to be tested. If it's true, it'll stand. If it's false, it won't. It's got to be tested. A believer has to be tested. And that's not going to be comfortable at all. Never will. It's never going to be comfortable like that. It's a testing. His people are thrown into the fire to be tested, to purify. It needs to see, burn out the wickedness. It needs to see whether it stands or not. If it comes out of that fire purified, or is it just burnt up? Needing to believe it's not the Father's intention to throw a believer in the fire and utterly destroy them, but to destroy something about them so that they can live, to destroy the evil and believe that truth, which is the hardest thing to do in the world, is to believe the actual truth for the intention of why it's done, without believing he's evil and wicked and hating him, because that's the easiest thing in the world to do. These are all hard things to do. This is not sellable. The church world can't sell this. The church is not a building, a temple, a synagogue. These are all the same. Today, church, it's it's the same thing as synagogue. It's always been that way. What about Isaiah 66, 6:6, the carnality of it? Did they ever see it? You're going to build me a house and think you can contain me and dwell me? I made all these things. I made you. I made that house. I did everything. You didn't do it. I gave you the ability to do these things. I created you, which creates some little thing, house. He did it all. Just because it looks like man did it, who's the creator of that man? Who gave him a mind? Who gave him abilities? Man didn't do that to himself. I'm pretty sure back in the day when he was a little blob of seed, he didn't do anything of himself. It just magically turned into a person, and an egg yolk turned into a chicken somehow. Shouldn't make sense. And that's what's actually happening. It seems strange. Shouldn't be that way, that a tiny nothing turns into what it turns into, a tree. That thing was a tiny little seed. You cut it in half and you don't see anything. Put it in a microscope, what do you see? How does that thing turn into a tree? Branches, strong, creating leaves, fruit, whatever it's doing. Roots. How does it know what to do? That seed must be powerful, huh? That seed must have a lot of wisdom in that tiny little thing. How does it know what to do? How does it know that it's doing what it's doing? How is it confirming that it is indeed doing what it's supposed to do? Does it know? Does it have a mind? Is it alive? Is it alive like a person with a mind? Maybe the Creator is doing it. He's been doing that after all along. And nobody believes it in this world. Not actually, not in the heart. To create some kind of scientific definition for something to do away with the truth. Get people to think carnally to do away with the truth. This is some kind of sorcery, some kind of trick, bits and pieces of truth in what people say. But the intention for why they're doing it is a complete lie. It's not speaking truth because its intention is not to speak the truth. How does someone have any truth in them if the Creator doesn't exist in their life and it's all apart from the Creator? Nothing is apart from the Creator. No one can hide from Him in reality, and nothing has been created apart from Him. So to do away with Him is to lie at all times, even if there's carnal truths that someone's talking about. It doesn't matter. The person's lying. It's their intention. Their intention is not truth. Their definition of truth is some kind of scientific thing that doesn't have to do with actual truth. Deceiving people. I've never been able to get water on a ball, no matter what size, about 1 inch deep on top of the surface of a soccer ball, a basketball, a baseball. Well, let's use a bigger ball like a basketball. 1 inch deep, let's say, all around the ball, perfectly round and smooth, and it just sits there. The thought is that, what is this gravity that's being talked about? That the gravity is coming from the center of the earth, of the globe, and it's sucking everything in towards the center. Is that so? It doesn't make sense at all. None of it makes sense when it's really thought about. in a simple way, not in a complicated, stupid way. That's why it's keep it simple, stupid, isn't it? As soon as you go away from simple, you become stupid. But who actually believes that? Who lives it? Saying it's one thing, but doing it's a completely different thing. Prove you believe it. As soon as you go away from simple, the person becomes stupid. Literally stupid. Foolish. Not only is it sucking all this trillions of tons of water around a ball, it's maintaining its position and curvature and all the way around, every square inch needing a little bit something different than a foot away. It's not the same all the way around. The water on the bottom of the ball, that's different than the water on the top, right? You need different pressures, different gravities to hold it in place. Gravity's doing all this. If it's just some kind of magnet that sucks things to the ball, how is it so uniform and just sitting there? It's not only sucking it all in, it's maintaining its position and smooth curvature all the way around in one spot, right where it needs to be. And it's holding it there. It's not just pulling it in. They don't talk about that. You just say it's sucking, it's a gravity sucking everything in from the core of the earth inward. That doesn't explain it. That doesn't answer to anything in reality. It doesn't answer it. Doesn't answer how this can be so. And nobody ever made an example on Earth. Nobody ever tested that and proven in some kind of small model. You can't do that. You can't do it no matter how much you try. Can't be done, maybe because it's a lie. Yes, maybe because it's a lie. And then it's spinning. This gravity has to account for centrifugal force, flinging water off. It has to account for that too. It's always spinning and the direction's always changing. Also, the Earth is traveling 66,666 miles per hour while it's spinning. So it's traveling in the galaxy in a big circle. The whole thing is moving fast and it's spinning on its axis all at the same time. Trillions of tons of water just sitting there perfectly around this ball. It's accounting for probably millions of different things and angles and positions. Really complex to keep all that there. Gravity knows how to do all that, I guess. How is it doing that? How come it's never seen on Earth? How come it can't be proven on Earth? I've never seen it. Don't believe we ever will. Water doesn't curve. Nobody's proven that. I haven't seen it. I don't see a curve when a bathtub's filled up. I don't see a curve when a cup is filled up. The surface of the water is flat. I don't see water curving. If it's going down a river, it's not curving. That's just water going down. It's just traveling, finding the path of least resistance. Its own weight, moving itself. There's an explanation for why something rises or falls. Without gravity, you don't need it to explain why it's done. A hot air balloon magically goes up in the air. It's like magic. How does it do that? A basket with a few 100 pounds in it, and it's just rising. That's pretty impressive. There's an explanation for it. That has nothing to do with gravity sucking everything in towards the core of the earth. It's a contradiction. So a balloon can rise right above the water, right above the sea. Trillions and trillions of tons of water. Who knows how much weight all of that is? Water's heavy. And it's holding it there and sucking it in somehow and curving it and maintaining its position while the Earth is traveling thousands of miles per hour and spinning on its axis. And all of this is being accounted for. And it's so smooth and uniform. It's just right on top all the way around. Perfect ball of water. We never see that in reality. And yet the devil would like to say that's the truth. He would like to say the lie is the truth. Water doesn't bend. Isn't that obvious? It doesn't curve like that and just sit there, a nice perfect curve. There's no curve on a waterfall. There's no curve for a river flowing down. There's no curve for water falling. It's splashing around. It's moving up and down. It's filling, if it's in a container, it fills up the container and fills up that same shape, and the surface of the water is once again level, sea level. They don't believe it's sea level, even though those are the right words. They don't believe it. It means the same height, no matter where you are in the whole entire world. You're at the same 0 feet, right at sea level. Whether you're on one side of the so-called globe or the other, you're at the same actual height. In reality, on the true earth, you're at the same exact height. If you're on the sea, it's sea level. It's the same height everywhere. Water is a leveler. It levels out. It's the same exact height no matter where in the world, in reality, meaning it's not relative, it's actually the same. And when someone looks up, the other person looks up in the same direction, because we look up to the Father and the heavens because it's much higher than the earthly things. We don't look down to it. There's no relative contradiction. There's no up, there's no down. It breaks every spiritual meaning and understanding that exists. And the Father did not create this creation in foolishness. He created it in wisdom, with meaning. Everything is teaching something, whether someone sees it or not. Teaching something. The creation is yelling out, screaming out, teaching, speaking words. We read that it speaks, whatever the actual word is. Shouting out. It's screaming out the truth. All these different truths. The image is teaching something. And it goes on and on with the contradictions. It goes on and on and on. No answers. There are answers when you speak about the truth. For what creation is, there's answers. A container level, it's being held in, just like we see in real life. Just like we see in a bathtub, there's a reason it's not spilling out. It's in a container. It's level. It should be obvious. It's not to this world. Water does not bend. You move around water in a cup and you don't see it just sit there and curve and make a smooth curve like a baseball curve. It never does that. It never does that, ever. No one can make it do that by just letting water be whatever it is, whether it's in a container or splashing on the ground. It never does that. It never does what they say this world is. It never does that. I've never seen it. How convenient that I can never see it, never test it, never prove this lie as true. Can't do it. It should be a giveaway to something being a lie. When you can't test it and prove it, something's very wrong. Someone's lying. Someone's an actor. Someone's a stage player, a hypocrite, a pretender. One who answers in lies. One who interprets lies. He interprets falsely. He says this is what it means. This is how it's working, but he's lying. He's a false interpreter, a false one that answers falsely. It's like a false accuser. There's speaking truth, and then there's speaking falsely and falsely accusing. Both are accusers, but one is a false accuser. And people can't see the difference between the good and the evil, the truth and the lie. It's not seeking understanding from the Father. And when it tries, it tries to understand of its own self, because that's pride. It tries to say, this is the Bible telling me so, the dead letter, not the Father, not the Spirit, not something that's alive and living. His truth is living and alive. It's concerning with life. How can something that's dead, like a letter, teach anyone anything? And does that mean his word is bad? No, it does not. The same way that Paul says, does that mean the law is bad? It's evil. It's no good? No, it does not mean that, because it looks that way and it sounds that way. No, it does not mean that. It does not automatically mean that because it sounds that way. The thought I had about the stars is that there's some wandering stars up there. We read about it in the Bible, in the Word, wandering stars. Planet, supposedly some kind of Latin word, some kind of connection to wandering stars if you dig into it a little bit. A planet is not what they're saying it is. And even the definition buried within the word means wandering star somewhere down the line. Planet and wandering star are two different things, because what they say a planet is not what a wandering star is. Stars are not planets. The planets are the wandering stars, and the other stars are all fixed where they need to be. They're in position like a tree. Fixed. The house, it's fixed. It doesn't move. Foundation, it's fixed. It doesn't move. Moving is bad. House collapsing and moving is bad. Foundation moving is bad. It's destruction. Stars wandering is bad. Tree moving is bad. A good tree with the good roots doesn't move, and it stands the test of time from all the storms that come its way. It doesn't move. It needs to not move. Moving is sin when we're speaking about this specific thing. This is bad. This is no good. Wandering stars, what is there? 9 of them? It might just be 9 because 9 is the number of death. And they debate, well, 8th, 9th, Pluto, whatever. It's probably 9. That would fit. That would be perfect. That the wandering stars are 9, death. They wander. Like a woman that wanders from her home, that can never stay put, never stay still. Is this meaning to just stand in one spot, shut yourself in the room all day? Is that the understanding? No, it's not. This wandering is a lustful heart that's going out seeking destruction and to devour people. It doesn't stay put with what it's supposed to be. It doesn't stay put in its marriage. It's always seeking destruction and self-destruction. Seeking adultery, it's seeking gossip, it's seeking lying, stealing, killing, and destroying. It doesn't stay put. It's a wandering house there, a wandering woman. Always moving. See, a wandering star is always moving. All the other stars rotate together, the body of the heavenly bodies, but these wandering stars, after some time, they go all the way around all the other stars, and they keep moving separate from all the other stars. That's what a wandering star is. That's why it's called a wandering star in his word. It's wandering compared to all the other fixed stars that do not wander. Nevertheless, they move and rotate, but they're fixed. And these wandering stars are not fixed. They wander. They're in death. But what's the image say if you look up at the heavens and say, the stars are the Father's people? Well, there's many stars. Look at all the different stars. It's a big world. Who knows how many stars there are? Many, tons. And then yet what? Only 9 wandering stars compared to what? Hundreds of thousands, millions? Who knows? I don't know how many stars there are. Father says each one has its name. Each one meaning something and important. Each believer important and meaning something with a name. What about these wandering stars? Only 9. So if you look up at the heavens, the image is saying there's many good people on earth. Most people are good. They're light. They're fixed. They're not wandering. They're not sinners. They're good. They're believers. They're this, they're that. They're good. Good people. And there's only a few bad people in this world. 9. 0.00001% of all people are bad. There's only 9 wandering stars up there. If indeed that's 9, but there's only a few, and that is a fact. I believe that is an absolute fact. There's just a few. There's only a few. Why is that so? So the heavens are what? Teaching that there's many good people and no bad people? It appears that way, and that's a lie. That's not true. There's very few believers. And it's not that believers are good of themselves. It's an understanding here too. But under his grace, under his power, under his way, believers are seen as good. It's not self that's good. It's the new man that the Father makes them and gives them that's good. Self is still always evil and corrupt and always will be that way. That's why it needs to die more daily to self. Self will always be evil, but there is a good way to see that there's good believers, that believers are good in this way, covered under the Father's forgiveness and grace, which is not a license to sin. Never has been, never will be, and it doesn't mean that. But nevertheless, there's many, many stars and they're fixed. It appears that there's only a few bad people in this world. When you look at the heavens and you say wandering stars represent sin, it represents the unbeliever, it represents evil, wandering, it represents a vagabond, a wanderer, a call me what you will. Yeah. Singing and screaming about being the sinner, taking pride in it, wandering around. What's the devil doing? Wandering. What are you doing, devil? Oh, I go here, I wander there, to and fro, back and forth through the earth, wandering, to and fro, back and forth, here and there, seeking someone to devour and destroy. So someone says, well, there's only a few wandering stars. So if they're the bad, if they're the no good, if that's the sinner and sin, then the heavens are teaching that most people are good. Most people are light in this world and they're good. By far, way more than bad people. It appears that way. Is that what it means? Is that what it means? It does not mean that. Over and over in his word, what is a man? No one is good, not even one. Many called, few chosen, very few believers. From beginning to end, that truth has been taught, that there's only a few. Even back then, before Messiah, the true prophets, the true Old Covenant saints, it's always been a few compared to the rest of the world. There's only been a few. It's always taught that. And that's why Messiah says many called, few chosen. There's a few. That's the exact opposite of what the image looks like up there. The truth is the exact opposite from the image and what it appears to be teaching. So do the heavens teach that the image is a deception right within itself? It definitely does about wandering stars, that there's only a few. Most are believers, most are good according to the heavens image. It's a deception. And it's not the heavens' fault. It does no evil because it's like that. It doesn't have to do any evil for being that way. It's man that does evil, and he won't get that through. It won't come through to his thick skull. That the Father doesn't do any evil because it's like that. It's man's fault for not seeking the truth and believing the image. The heavens don't do anything evil for being that way, for looking that way. So what about the moon? People zoom up on the moon and even phones with these attachments and stuff, 200 times more than that, crazy amounts of zoom technology, zooming right up on it. And when you look at that, it very much does appear to be like what they say it is, like a dirt ball, a rock floating up there, traveling and floating, moving fast, but yet never falling to the ground. Somehow it's moving, but it's not going down. It's not going in that direction ever, for some strange reason. But when you look at it, it appears like, well, maybe that's a dirt ball. Maybe that's a rock, with moon dust and craters and stuff. It appears that way, doesn't it? Yes, it does. It appears that way. Is it the truth? Is it what it appears to be? That's the question. It appears that there's only a few bad people and wandering stars. 9. If that is indeed correct, 9. And then thousands and thousands of stars that are fixed. It appears that the world is good and most people are good, doesn't it? When we look up at the sky and there's only a few bad wandering stars and the moon appears to be some kind of rock with craters that's been hit. It's strange that these craters never change, It's never changing. And I know nobody had cameras and things 3,000 years ago, but if they did and they could zoom in, it would be the same as today. Yes, it would. never changing. No craters added in the last 5,000 years, 6,000 years. That's what it would show. What about 100 years? Nothing has changed. What about the last 50 years? It's exactly the same, always the same. That's a problem with what man says that it all is. It's a strange thing to always be exactly the same and never any different, never changing. Is the moon what it appears to man's mind? Is it what it appears to be to man's mind and heart? Is it a rock with craters up there? Is it what they say it is? That's something you can land on and touch down and stick a flagpole in it. Can anyone see the flagpole with that 1000 zoom? Is there a flag up there that isn't CGI'd in by some clown? I don't think so. With the image today is so deceiving, and there's constantly these false reports of famous people and they're doing this and that, and you find out it's a lie. It's insane. The trickery, the CGI, it's only getting better. It's only becoming more deceiving. Putting people in fake pictures and making it look real, like they got their hand over the sky and it never happened. They just put that in and CGI'd this guy with the arm over the next guy and says, well, these two people were together. Here's the proof. And it never actually happened. And it looks very real. It looks more and more real as time goes on. The images, the deception's getting stronger with the image. It's interesting that the literal image is growing as it comes down and winds down to an end here. The image of the beast is getting bigger and stronger. It's sure interesting to me that that's so. The timing of things, the signs of the evil of this world. The image has always been that truth, that wicked image. But look what's literally happening with the image, with technology and all of that. All these crazy tricks with the image. Unbelievable what you can do with the image now. Even this, which is considered basic, just taking a video of something, with your phone, and somehow you see it and then it's sent to some stream place like YouTube and you can see the image and it's reproduced all wirelessly, that's very basic today compared to what people can do with the image. Image trickery, stabilization, all of that. CGI and whatever else, whatever other names there are for all these tricks. The image is always deceitful. It's always deceitful because it's the nature of the image to be deceitful. The only time it's not deceitful is when someone is doing a good work that has nothing to do with trying to create an image, and then whatever it looks like, that's what it looks like. Then that's what it is. Too bad that it looks the way it looks. If it did good, too bad what it looks like. Too bad that it looks evil to this world. When that person didn't intend and try to sell an image, premeditated, I want people to believe this. I want it to look like this. I want them to believe something about me and make it look like I'm this. When someone does a good work and does not have that in mind and does not do that, but only speaks the truth, whatever that image looks like, that's good. Because there was no corruption done from that person. Whatever the image looks like, so be it. Too bad that it looks evil to this world. It's going to look evil when you do good to this world. It's illegal to do good. It's illegal to do good from the heart. It's illegal to do the Creator's works. The devil hates it. Writhing in pain, he hates it so much. It appears you can do good. Of course it does. It appears people do good and do good to each other and want to do good. It appears that way strongly. Well aware of it. It isn't real. It's an actor. It's a stage player, a dissembler, a pretender, a hypocrite. That's the reality of things. The truth is that an unbeliever has no hope to do any good, not even a little bit. Who would ever believe that? No one, because you believe the image. You believe the image that the person has created and done in this life over the truth, which is the thoughts and intentions of the heart and every law of the Creator. And to keep every law, which is to do good, to keep it in the heart, none of that is looked at. Only the image is looked at. Someone looks at the moon. Oh, it's this. Yep, it's that. Just that simple, like that. It looks like this. That must be what it is. We only see one side of the moon. There's no other side. It doesn't exist. Somehow this moon, this globe moon, is rotating, I don't know, perfectly with the spinning Earth that's traveling in a big circle, 66,666 miles per hour, and spinning 1,000 miles per hour on the surface of the Earth on its axis. Strangely, no one ever sees the other side of the moon. Isn't there songs about like the other side of the moon? Some telltale signs, something going on. Maybe some people know about it. They sing about it. It's sort of a mockery, you know, what the devil's good at. Wink, 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 you know. Telling a little bit of truth in plain sight with evil intentions. A deceiver, a mocker. Those kinds of things pop up everywhere. There's so many of those kinds of works and signs where there's like bits and pieces of truth in plain sight, and yet it's like a mockery. It's not actual truth coming from the heart of the person, but it's some kind of mockery, mocking people. That it's wise and everyone else is stupid, I guess, but then it pretends to believe the lie when it's asked in front of everyone in the world. Or should I say axed? Like that tree getting axed up. The axe is waiting and ready to chop down the tree that doesn't produce good fruit. It must be so. It's not right to not chop it up. It would be no difference between good and evil. There wouldn't be a righteous judgment or a reward for good and punishment for evil. There must be a difference between these two things. There must be a difference made. There must be so. To not make that difference is sin. It cannot be so with the Creator. There must be a difference between good and evil. There must be a difference in judgment between good and evil. What is the moon? I can't say exactly what it literally is. Is it a image in the sky, a hologram, and the Father makes light shine from it? What kind of welding mask did those people that landed on the moon in the 60s have? Because the moon's pretty bright. And being 100-something thousand miles away, like they say, or 200, whatever it is, like they say, according to what the world says, that's a long, far distance. And when the moon is full, it still provides quite a bit of light. It's a lot more light than pitch darkness, than no light at all. It's a lot of light that still gets all the way down to the earth. How bright is it when you're right standing on it? What kind of tint did these guys have to not be blinded by the moon? And for me, that's a serious question. The light's coming right from the moon, and they're right there now, and not 100,000, 200,000 miles away from it like we are, according to what they say. They're standing on it now. Wouldn't they be blinded? Isn't that thing bright? Where's the light now? What's going on? What about one of those lights you plug into the wall? You know, a shop light? What's the name for it? Besides just some kind of light? Whether it's LED or the old school bulbs. They get really hot. They're bright. Use it in a shop or something. Super bright. let's say it's 10 feet by 10 feet, that light. So it's way brighter and way hotter. It would light up the sky, this thing. So standing right on it wouldn't be bright. It's only bright from miles away. So standing right on this light source now, it wouldn't be hot and bright. It's just not even, there's no brightness at all. I could just take a video of the moon and it comes through clearly. What if you tried that on an actual bright light source or imagined it? Because you can imagine something like this because it's not a lie. You can test it on a really small scale. Wouldn't it be really hot? Well, that kind of light is anyways. Wouldn't it be really bright? Like even brighter since you're closer to it? How do you see anything? Maybe they are blind. People that land on the moon. Maybe they are blind. Blinded by the truth. Blinded by the sun. Why does the sun blind the eyes? Isn't the sun good? Isn't the sun light so to see, and yet someone gets blinded by looking at it? There's something to that. There's something to the truth blinding someone. So they're so far from the truth that it blinds them when they see it. They become blind when they look at it. When they see Messiah, they go blind. They become insane, even more wicked, hateful, hysterical, whatever word you put in there. They start going insanely blind when they look at Messiah, the light of the world, the truth. The closer they get to him, the more blind they get because they're darkness and they're getting blinded by his light. They're doing even more evil that they can't see. Their heart's filling up with more blind hatred that they don't believe that they're doing any evil at all. Judas doesn't believe that he's doing any evil. He can't. He's blind. He believes he's an actual disciple wanting in. No other disciple wanted in. Something's wrong with Judas wanting in. Take me. I'm a good person. I could do this or that. Whatever actually happened, all the details. Judas is different. Judas stands out. Something's not right with Judas. Messiah knew that from the beginning. But he had to do the Father's will and accept the things to be as they are, that to appear as a disciple. He had to accept that. But he knew he was not right, that he was false. It's not because the disciples are better than Judas. It's not working like that. But nevertheless, there is a truth to behold, and Judas is not right. He's not of the truth. He's not being led to the truth. He's a deceiver. His intention is to destroy, to corrupt, to sell Messiah out for money. It's what he did. You want the proof that that's what his intention was? He did it. There's your proof. He got money. He got the silver. He got it. That was his intention. A man receives whatever his intention was. He does it. The works are done. It's in the bag. The Father does all the works, and all the works are in a bag. I think we read that somewhere. He's the master of all, the creator of all things. He's the Felix the cat of everything. He's got all the tricks in the bag because the Father's a wicked deceiver. Yeah, he's evil. He's full of darkness, even though we read that he has no darkness in him and he is light. He's that light that lit up the world before he created the sun in Genesis. He is that light of the world. He is the true original light of the world. And then finally, Messiah became that light through being a son, a believer, to be like the Father, to be a light in the world. But the Father is the light. He is the Son, the Son. He is the greater light. He is the greatest light. He is the original light of the world. But Messiah is the light of the world also. He became that. But the Father's always been that. The Father wasn't born. No one is like the Creator. He's unique, we read. None are like him. No one is like me. None are like me. There is no God like me. There's no Elohim like me. There's no man like me. No one's like me. We read. That means something. There's only one of him. And that's it. There's not two. There's not three. There's not Holy Spirit. There's not Son of God. God the Son, rather. There's not Trinity. There's only one Creator alone, and no one else is like him. God the Son is not like him, and God the Holy Spirit, according to the church, is not like him. If someone can see what that pathway that's going through, because then I'll say Messiah is like him and has become like him, and now is never changing and is like him. I know that sounds like it contradicts, because there's always rightly dividing needing to be done. Talking about one specific thing and not anything else. You start talking about something else and mixing it, then it appears to be a contradiction. That's how all his word works. You have to rightly divide and speak of one thing at a time. And if another thing is spoken of, then you rightly divide it. It's a separate thing. A separate truth, a different truth that's of the same tree, but it's a different branch of the same tree. The train's loud. Yeah, I hear it. Yeah. It's not going to stop Judas from running into the train on purpose, is it? Hanging himself, like walking in front of a train and ending it. That's utter destruction. Evil doesn't pay off, and yet it does. See the silver? Look at the money. It does pay off to do evil. Good doesn't pay anything, says the world, says the carnal mind. The good doesn't do anything. It doesn't pay. Well, it doesn't, actually. It doesn't carnally. Evil pays carnally. Good doesn't. Truth doesn't. It pays spiritually for the soul. Good. And evil destroys and causes death and destruction for the soul. What's being believed? The image. Evil pays. They're only seeing it carnally. Money. Worldly gain. What people consider valuable. Riches. And when you think about it, it's all insane. Gold under the earth. Should be able to just throw it at someone's face and not think anything of it. Throw it in the pond as scum. That's not how it is, though. Because of how this world is set up, and because of what man is, because of what the father of man, the devil, is. That is the father for all those that are sons of the devil in unbelief still. And the devil is the father of the sons of the devil. It's just true. And the true father is the father of the sons of Elohim, the true creator. And the devil's the fake wannabe creator, jealous, envious, wanting to be like him without wanting to be like him, just wanting to do and have his power without doing any good at all. Wanting to own it as if he created everything. You see this condition in man. He wants to take something, steal it, and call it his own thing as if he created it and it all came from him. It's my idea. I did it. This is being done all the time. It's what business is, after all. It's not a copycat this or copycat that. It's a copycat world. The whole world is copycat. It's the way it works. It's the way man works. It can't do anything different. It sees something, it gets envious and says, I could do that better. You're making money and I'm not. It starts getting envious and then it copies it. And you change a couple small details and then calls it its own thing and then tries to outsell it. It's envious. This moves the world, it drives people, envy, to do things, to prove people that I'm good, I'm better than this. People say I can't do this, I'll prove them wrong. Wicked. I'll prove these wicked fools wrong. That's insecurity to the highest degree. That's not a good thing, but it's considered good in the world. Revenge is considered good. Murder is considered good. It's always being taught in the movies. It's what every plot basically is based on. Revenge, murder, killing, stealing, destroying, adultery. All these things are good. It's what man is. If everyone does it, it must be okay and good, says the shrink. Even in the movies, the shrinks are exposed as utter hypocrites. Sometimes, in places, in some, the devil like exposes himself through the image of movies. Like every detail is somewhere buried between all of the movies ever created. Truth in plain sight here, and a little bit more of this here, a little bit of that here, and this one, and between all of them, all the truth must be in there in plain sight of what man really is. It says it plainly. And yet you get back into the real world and nobody actually believes it. Nobody actually believes what the truth in plain sight is telling. How could that be? The works show and prove that nobody believes it. Let me find a verse.